Good evening, everyone. Ready to call the meeting to order. The Akron's Citizens Police Oversight Board meeting for December the 17th, 2025. We'll begin with our roll call. Aniskevich.
Here.
Castle.
Here.
Costa.
Present.
Krabs. Elton. Hawkins.
Here.
Peoples.
Here.
Weems. Here. Boyd is here. I'd like to make a motion to accept last meeting's minutes. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Next, we'll move on to the reading of our purpose and our values. The overarching mission of the Akron Citizens Police Oversight Board is to foster conditions and police practices that ensure the safety of all residents of Summit County. The CPOB is empowered by a new city charter provision to independently direct the police auditor, whose office reviews investigations into complaints and misconducts involving officers. The board and the auditor also review every standard investigation, whether by the Akron Police Department or outside agencies, into the use of deadly force by an officer. Our values are as follows. Our decisions and actions are motivated by our love for Akron and our desire for all to feel safety in the community. We value unity in voice and action. We respect each other and those we serve. We seek to build relationships of trust, and we seek always to conduct ourselves with integrity. We listen to understand, learn, and lead. We strive to be inclusive of all stakeholders' voices. We value change at a system level. We hold ourselves accountable for our actions and deeds, and we hold our partners and those we serve accountable for their actions and deeds as well. This time I want to move on to item number 5, which is Ms. Aniskevich and our public comments.
Yes, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people. So I'm just going to go in order of me having what I have in front of me. So be mindful that each person has 3 minutes to speak. I'll start the timer as soon as you start speaking. If you run out of time, I will not rudely interrupt you and say, stop, you're done. I'm not going to do that. I'll just put my finger up to you nicely, and then you'll know you can finish your thought, and we'll go from there, okay? All right, thank you. So Lee Holden, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to say a few words of personal thanks to Katie Castle for your service on this board. You and Bob Giffen really created the governance committee, and you've stuck with it, and you've been really the kind of the foundation of the governance committee that's so important for the work of this board. You almost single-handedly put together the annual plan, and that's a job that's usually done by a full-time staff person, and you did that on top of your work for the schools and so on. So, and I know that was a big undertaking. You have consistently spoken up for young people whenever there was an opportunity to do so. And I really see you as holding the institutional memory of this board and offering it at strategic moments, and that's such an important contribution. So you've had many more contributions than I can really mention here, but they've been many and very significant. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holden. Jennifer Boswell, please.
Good evening.
Good
I was
evening.
caught off guard at committee meeting last week to hear about Katie leaving the Oversight Board, and I also wanted to thank you. I started going to those committee meetings, and Katie's always there and prepared and informative, and I hope that whoever replaces you is as dedicated to the work as you have been. I also want to thank the rest of the Oversight Board for your very careful work this year. There have been some very difficult cases to review. I want to thank Mr. Fennell for answering our questions at the committee meeting, informing us as lay people what things mean from his reports and what their implications are. I have had the opportunity to speak to the consultants for the use of force review, and that opportunity was set up through Mr. Fennell's office on behalf of Moms Demand Action. So I want to thank you for that opportunity. I found that to be an outlet for some of my concerns for what's going on. And I hope that if necessary, we can pull together the support, the will to create perhaps some charter change in the year ahead. It seems like there are some limitations in the charter language, and if that comes to be something we need to consider, I'll lend myself in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you. David Garan, please. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
It's actually Garan.
Garan?
Yep.
I apologize.
Garan.
Garan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
First I would like to give an appreciation to Mr. Fennell. You've done some really great reports, and we appreciate what you do at the committee meetings. And I hope you're recovering quickly here after your surgery, so I wish you well. I wanted to bring up at the last committee meeting, we did have one person on Zoom from the board, but given Bob Gibbons, he had his faults, but at least he showed up at every committee meeting, and we need a board member at those committee meetings to be in person. Today you're going to bring up a case on Officer Skaggs, the officer who did a third assault on a citizen within the last 21 months of Mr. Fennell's tenure as independent auditor. I think after 3 assaults, it's time to fire him. He should be out. And then I'm glad the mayor is here, and it's very disappointing that during the negotiations with the police union, I really kind of throw up when I call them a union, the FOP, that you didn't change the contract, change the rules so this group has more power over the police department. You had to do that. You did not do that. Shame on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garan. Nathaniel Green, please.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm gonna get too straight to the point. Some of what I'm going to say is repetitive, but here we are in 2025. We had another controversial shooting. We had some reports by Anthony Fennell about questionable use of force, particularly head strikes, failure to properly restrain passengers in the vehicle, which could, possibly lead to somebody getting seriously hurt. One drunk driver, one distracted driver, texting while driving, hits the car. You got serious injury, civil rights violations, lawsuits, etc. I said on Monday at City Council that the current study of the police department, in my opinion, doesn't go far enough. I mean, we have, as I mentioned before, I just mentioned it about the shootings and use of force. Another officer, well-known, back in the news, and I'm not going to mention his name. Some things never change. I think there's an organization right here called the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. Well-known, well-respected. They do studies of police department, make recommendations, and I think the city should seriously consider bringing them in, okay, and having them doing a very comprehensive study of the Akron Police Department. Right now, the study we're doing now is just limited to use of force. And this department, we had an officer bring a lawsuit for promotion. And I was gonna say that, we got hiring issues, promotion issues, police academy issues, field training issues, questionable policies, when to apply first aid to someone who gets shot. And there's a whole lot of issues. And I think that this body here should lobby the city council to put some money aside next year to have them come in and bring a black police officer's point of view. These guys are well known. They've been around since 1976, and they dealt with racism on the force, and they know they can bring recommendations, because this department has issues with the community in general, the black community, and it has issues with officers within their ranks, okay, not getting a fair deal. Last time, Department of Akron really doesn't hire a lot of black cops. I mean, they had to go to court in the 70s to get a consent decree that allowed what they wanted. They got 3 black officers for every white officer, but that ended in the 90s, and the department went back to business as usual. It got really bad after, okay, is that it? Okay, is that okay. It got kind of bad. Things really picked up when Dan Horgan became mayor, as far as, things going downhill, in my opinion. But I have some papers here I'd like to pass out to you guys. Absolutely. And you can contact that organization, check out the website, and, lobby the city council people to, push hard for them to come in and do a study. If you got money for the current study, which is only use of force, you can find money for them to come in and do a more comprehensive study.
Thank you.
And that's pretty much what I got to say. I mean, I'm kind of thrown off today. But anyway, I got business to take care of, and I finished watching you guys on YouTube. And I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And like I said, take a good look. You can give one of those to the mayor. All right, and let's hopefully, the community activists, I told them they gotta do more, and I wanna see them, instead of just standing outside protesting, go out there and get some charter amendments, and have the police board here given a lot more power. Because when you're dealing with the police and the FOP, they're a very powerful organization nationwide. And you have to be equal or above them to beat them, depending on how you see things. This right here, this is basically, and I'm not assaulting nobody, it's pretty much the equivalent of a toothless Rottweiler. You got no power, and I know Anthony Fennell expressed some serious frustration when the union contract got signed, because there was nothing that he wanted in it. So, like I said, let's hope 2026 is better for the community, for the police, and everyone. I mean, less trouble, limit it, get rid of these lawsuits, start holding people accountable. But it takes 2 to work together, so let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Thank everyone for their comments. They're much appreciated and accepted.
Excuse me. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and especially your encouragement to Katie as she moves forward. We truly appreciate that. Now we're going to move into item number 6, is our committee report outs, and we're going to start with our auditor's report with Mr. Fennell.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to start out by saying to Ms. Katie Castle, thank you. Ms. Castle, I'm going to miss you and your presence on the board, but I understand why you need to move on, and I am happy for you and that opportunity that as it presents itself to you. Thank you for all that you've done for us and helping us with not only governance, but with the annual report last year, with just your encouragement between meetings when you and I talk, or we reach out to one another. So I just want to say thank you, and I wish you the best. On to the auditor's, report. Since our last board meeting, the auditor's office reviewed 26 use of force investigations. 24 of those, we concurred with the APD findings. There was one where, and I'll discuss this evening, one that came back from last meeting where we concur with recommendations, and then one where I did not concur with the findings at all. And I will just on completing that service contract. Data analyst is continues to work with us. Ms. Myers and I at regular meetings with the data analyst. We're still ironing out what a dashboard will look like, and going through the Excel spreadsheet with all of the data from that we collected from 2022 through this year to make sure that that information is consistent, it's clean data, and that the dashboard will be informative and something that will serve the public as well as serve our needs. With respect to the college intern, we worked with HR to identify a candidate, and the candidate, we'll talk more about the candidate in closed session this evening with the board. However, we did interview the candidate, myself, Ms. Myers, and city HR. And so we will move forward with further discussion in closed session about the candidate. An update on the property damage claims audit. As you can imagine, that is quite a bit of information and data that needs to be gathered. So the law department and APD are working with my office to gather that information. And we're still moving forward on that. And then with the Jalen Walker shooting incident, at the last meeting, we had to postpone movement on selecting a review team. We may be able to move forward with that first part of next year. But in the interim, I am still conducting the review of the incident. So I will keep you advised on the progress with that. So on to first case report. It is a report that we was discussed at the last board meeting. It's case number 2025-000-97950. And this report is, it involved a pursuit of an individual who was observed failing to stop at a stop sign while riding a bicycle. The question that came up during the last meeting was whether the APD pursuit policy, if there was a violation based on the APD pursuit policy. And I was asked to go back specifically through that policy and its application in this incident. So I've submitted an addendum to the report. And in short, my position stands on what the original report, what I submitted, and my recommendation for policy change and disciplinary action. But in looking at the APD policy, the policy does not impose a blanket prohibition on pursuits for all minor traffic violations. And I believe that is what Deputy Chief Miller had expressed during last board meeting. The policy does expressly prohibit pursuits when the sole basis is an equipment violation. Now, For other minor traffic violations, the policy requires a rigorous risk versus necessity analysis before initiating or continuing a pursuit. And I believe in the last board meeting, Ms. Anaskevich spoke about the decision-making process. And so in that vein, I looked at this policy and its application to this case, and I concluded that the officers did not sufficiently articulate or demonstrate that the danger posed by allowing the subject to flee on a bicycle outweighed the risks that were created by pursuing a bicyclist through a residential neighborhood. And so the disagreement in this case, in my opinion, reflects a policy interpretation and application issue and not a factual dispute. So I concur that the force that was used to restrain the subject was reasonable once he actively resisted, and that the officers used limited control techniques and grappling techniques and discontinued the force after securing the subject. However, the need for the force arose from what I determined to be an avoidable escalation, which is the initial pursuit of an individual riding a bicycle who failed to stop at a stop sign. And either had the pursuit not been initiated or had a supervisor terminated the pursuit earlier on in accordance with the policy's balancing requirements, the circumstances necessitating physical force likely would not have occurred. So, like I said, my position still stands on the recommendations that were originally presented, but I did conduct that review at the request of the board from last meeting. So at this point, my finding is, like I said, the force was within policy and constitutionally reasonable. However, the force basically arose from a pursuit that was outside of policy. So, I'll take any questions and present it to the board for consideration.
Can I get a motion to accept the auditor's report ending in 202500097950?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I just can, Mr. Fennell, can you refresh my memory again? When you said I had posed a question about something, I just want you to refresh my memory about it.
Yes, ma'am. At last board meeting, you spoke about the decision-making process of whether, regardless if the pursuit were permissible by the policy or not, if for a minor offense such as this, basically, was it wise to conduct a pursuit that had a high risk for a minor violation, particularly a traffic-related, or in this case, a bicyclist not stopping at a stop sign incident?
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, even though there may or may not have been a policy about it, was it reasonable and wise to even engage in that type of pursuit over a bicycle?
Exactly.
Okay, I remember. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mr. Fennell, I wasn't clear. My understanding of the non-pursuit policy was a vehicle, meaning a car, and that the injuries that could come from a high-speed chase was really what was at issue here, and I wasn't sure that a bicycle, if someone flees as the police pull behind them, that not pursuing a bicycle is covered under that vehicle. Can you just elaborate or address my understanding?
Well, in reviewing the pursuit policy, it does not specifically state the type of vehicle a person would flee from the police in. So it does not say that it has to only be an automobile. And so my interpretation is more so not on what the subject is operating that's fleeing from the police, but that the police themselves are operating a motor vehicle to chase after that person. And so the pursuit governs in its totality, it governs the operation of an emergency vehicle in such a situation, and when and where and how a police officer can drive a vehicle during a pursuit, not exactly what they're pursuing in itself. That's not laid out in the policy. And one of my recommendations does touch upon the fact that maybe the policy needs to, if it's going to prohibit or if it's going to allow, rather, officers to pursue individuals on bicycles, then maybe it needs to lay out some guidelines on the reasonableness of such a pursuit, so that they can weigh the risk versus reward analysis. Because again, you talked just a second ago about a high-speed chase resulting maybe in a crash or an innocent bystander getting hit. Well, that innocent bystander could get hit by the person being pursued, or it could be hit by the police vehicle. So now in this case, we have a low-speed chase of a police vehicle against a person on a bicycle. So there's a higher, even though the speed is low, if that police officer's vehicle struck that bicyclist, then even at 10 miles an hour, that bicyclist's body is going to hit the pavement at 10 miles an hour. So again, it's the risk versus reward analysis that needed to be taken into consideration.
I appreciate your explanation. As you said, there's a difference of interpretation here, so I will accept your report just with this objection noted.
All right, any other further questions or comments for Mr. Fennell before we vote? All right, we'll roll call vote. Aniskevich?
Yes.
Castle?
Yes.
Costa?
Yes.
Krabs? Yes. Hilton? Hawkins?
Yes.
Peebles?
Yes.
Weems? Boyd, yes. Motion passes. Mr. Fennell, back to you.
All right, thank you. The second one is APD case number 2025-00119298. And this is incident happened in October 6th of 2025. It's also a traffic stop. There was, there was a young man that was pulled over in his vehicle. The officer stated his vehicle registration had expired. His plates had expired. And upon approaching the vehicle, the officer asked if the young man had a firearm. He identified that he did have a firearm. And he also identified to the officers that he was nervous, that he was anxious. And in viewing the video, in review of the documents, the reports, and the supervisor's report, they talk about the steps that the officer in question took to, quote unquote, de-escalate the situation and calm the individual down. But when you look at the video and look at the individual, it's clear that this young man was extremely nervous. He told the officers, he complied by state law and told the officers where the weapon was. He kept his hands elevated and in plain view. And the officers' approach to having this young man exit the vehicle is one that not de-escalated the situation, but actually increased the young man's anxiety. The officer spoke in a calm voice. However, he ordered the young man to place his hands on his head, interlock his fingers, and exit the vehicle. That in and of itself is a confusing directive to someone who's not anxious, who is not nervous about the situation. But the officer's rationale for trying to extract the young man in the first place was because a gun was present. Well, this issue has come up several times in use of force incidents, whereas in Ohio, it's a permitless state. So if you can carry a firearm openly or concealed without a permit if you're an adult. So having a gun in and of itself does not make the situation a criminal offense. It does heighten everyone's awareness that a gun is present, but if a law-abiding citizen follows the law, which if they're asked, they're supposed to identify that, yes, I have a weapon in the vehicle, which the young man did. And the young man stated where the weapon was and never reached for it. So the young man, in all intent, is following the law. So he's not broken the law because he has a weapon. He's satisfied his legal obligations. And if the officer needed him to exit the vehicle, simply saying, "Would you please exit the vehicle?" should have been sufficient. All of the other steps that the officer required of the young man to exit the vehicle are the same steps that officers use when they're conducting a felony stop or a high-risk traffic stop. That application was not proper in this situation. So, I conclude that they failed to deploy or failed to employ rather de-escalation strategies, and the young man's movements were classified by the officers and in their reports as reaching for the gun and failing to follow directions. But when you view it, and in my opinion, through my perspective, the movements were more fear-based because the young man had already stated he was anxious and he was nervous. They were not active resistance. And so reaching into the car, yanking the young man out, forcibly throwing him to the ground, and then forcibly placing him in handcuffs is a use of force that's disproportionate to the severity of the offense or the level of the threat. So I did not agree with the findings of the APD investigation that the use of force was objectively reasonable. And so, if you look at Graham v. Connor, which is the basis for which we are to analyze all uses of force, the severity of the original offense was an expired registration, which is a minor traffic violation. The threat level was low. The subject never moved toward the firearm. His hands were visible and he was in full compliance. And even when, prior to him being yanked out of the vehicle, even when the young man placed his cell phone in the center console, the officer never reacted to that movement. And that was the closest that his hand was to his firearm, which was also in the center console. The only time the officer reacted to it was when the officer ordered him to put his hands interlocked over his head, and the young man asked him, well, why? And he became more nervous. So the resistance that they claimed the young man did was non-existent. It was more nervousness and not defiance. So my recommendations I've got some training recommendations. I've got some policy recommendations, and policy recommendations are that there needs to be clear guidance on distinguishing lawful gun possession from threat indicators, so there has to be clear guidance and training that the officers do not default to a felony stop tactics absent articulable danger. So simply because a person carries a firearm in the state of Ohio lawfully, they should not resort to a felony stop activity on certain folks. And then the officers should be trained to recognize and appropriately respond to fear, anxiety, and nervousness during traffic stops, which makes most people somewhat nervous and anxious, even if they know they've done nothing wrong and have nothing in their vehicle. Adopt simplified step-by-step instructions for legally armed motorists when asking them to exit their vehicle to avoid unnatural positions, such as having your hand interlocked above your head, and also emphasizing safe, controlled exit commands. Like I said before, simply asking the young man to step out of his vehicle would have sufficed in this situation. And then reinforcing expectations to avoid officer-created jeopardy. And in this case, I believe that officer-created jeopardy occurred. There were at least 4 officers present. It seemed to me this single officer rushed everything, trying to get the young man out of the vehicle. And had he slowed down and maybe talked to him in a different tone, and reemphasized that he just needed him to exit the vehicle without adding any additional stress, then he would not have needed to use force. So it has to be more training on how to interact with lawful firearm carriers. You know, the state of Ohio has made this legal. So now the police have to adopt to that because everyone that's carrying a firearm is not illegal. It should not be presumed to illegally possess it, absent any other articulable facts to lead that way. So disciplinary recommendations and the involved officers, Detective Sprague with the SNUD unit. And so I would ask that they, APD, reinvestigate this and change the findings from objectively reasonable to not objectively reasonable and apply, appropriate discipline as warranted. And Detectives Sheely and Officer Himmelbever should also be reprimanded on this or have received counseling and retraining because they did not independently assess the threat level themselves. They just basically followed Detective Sprague's lead in removing this subject from the car and taking him straight to the ground. And then Officer Phillips, who was on the scene, had minimal involvement in the decision to use force, but I recommend just retraining on, again, the appropriateness of addressing subjects that are legally allowed to carry a firearm in the state of Ohio and how you address that, particularly in a traffic stop or street stop situation. So I'll turn it over to the board for any questions.
I have a question.
Can I get a motion to accept Auditor's Report 2025-0011-9298?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or comments at this time?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Fennell, for that very thorough report. I'm going to say this, that I'm starting to see a pattern here with the police giving conflicting directives that puts some citizens in untenable situations. For example, he first told the young man to put his hands on his head and interlock his fingers, correct? And then exit the vehicle. Well, how was he supposed to do that? With his toes? I mean, if he takes his hands down, I mean, he may not, he's already nervous. He may not be thinking, well, officer, I'm going to have to take my hands down from my head from what you just told me to do in order to exit the vehicle. So if he does that without asking permission, which most people wouldn't, that could escalate the situation. It can make the officer, especially a jumpy officer, think that the person's getting ready to pull a gun or the gun that he's already admitted having. That's a problem. I see that as a problem in giving conflicting directives that are impossible to meet. It's impossible to hold your hands on top of your head and also exit your car at the same time. That's just impossible to do, unless you are a paraplegic or something, or you were born without arms and you were trained to use your feet to do everything. That's the first thing. And this kind of follows something that happened with the Jasmine Tucker, which I know we're not talking about that, but according to the body cam, after he was shot, after he fell to the ground, they're still screaming at him at least a dozen times, "Show me your hands." He can't show his hands if he's on the ground dead. See, these are covered directives. I see them as directives to cover themselves in case they are planning to, or if they accidentally, or if they intentionally do something wrong or inappropriate to that citizen, they can use these directives as cover. This is a pattern that I'm starting to see between that and what happened with Jasmine. Why are they screaming directives at citizens that are impossible for the citizens to meet? So maybe some training need to come in around that issue.
Thank you, Ms. Aniskevich. Any more questions or comments for Mr. Fennell before we vote? All right, we'll roll call vote. Aniskevich,
Yes.
Castle,
Yes.
Costa,
Yes.
Krabs. Yes. Hawkins,
Yes.
Peebles,
Yes.
Weems. Boyd, yes. Motion passes. Mr. Fennell?
Yes, let me see here. My computer decides to take a nap real quick. Hold on for a second. Believe the other piece was, and I provided this to the board, for this month's policy, disciplinary, and training recommendation summary that has been forwarded on to the police department, and the recommendations that came out of these 26 cases that we reviewed over the last month have been aggregated into a summary that will go along with all of the other recommendations as we move forward to work towards some systemic review, policy review, and evaluation of various, not just use of force policies, but various APD policies. So that information is in your packet and available for the public. But I believe that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fennell. Is any other questions or comments for Mr. Fennell before we move forward?
I thought the use of force summary was incredibly thorough. I appreciate you preparing that and presenting it in the way that you did and grounding it and the law around the applicable topics. Thank you, Auditor Fennell.
Thank you, sir.
All right, at this time, before we move into governance, I want to ask if our mayor has any words to give him opportunity at this time. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be with you this evening. A couple things. First, I just want to take some time. It's been a little while since I've been here at this meeting, and I just want to thank all of you for your service. Mr. Fennell, it's good to see you, and I hope you're recovering well. And particularly Ms. Castle, thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it and wish you well, but the city is better for your efforts, and so we thank you. I also wanted to note that obviously we are in the middle of the use of force review, and have been several months into that, and are hoping to sooner than later be at the conclusion of that and be at the implementation process. I want to thank Mr. Fennell and the team for having engaged with Police Executive Research Forum, and I know many of you were able to interact with the PERF team in their recent visit. I believe that some of the topics that Mr. Fennell has been sharing in the reports are providing helpful basis upon which the PERF team is working and will be able to help us operationalize some of those recommendations. And I hope to have more to share on that soon. For any who still wish to speak with the PERF team or haven't had that opportunity or even want to speak further, I would encourage you to do so. I know they're very interested in doing that, whether in person or via Zoom. And obviously, Tony can set that up. Mr. Fennell can set that up. I also wanted to note that, with regard to the individual reports that are shared, I believe there are 5 outstanding reports. I believe 3 of them relate to requests to change the ultimate determination and from a disciplinary standpoint as opposed to policy recommendations. I know the 3 of us and Chief Harding went through those in depth this week. I want to underline to the board that we take those very seriously. I sent this board a summary document in response to Mr. Fennell, your letter, shortly, I guess that would have been early November. It was the very last thing I did before I went on leave with my baby being born. But I also want to note that I know, the timeliness of the response is important. I want to note particularly that we are being cognizant of this 120-day limit under the contract. And so being cognizant of that in how we're reviewing those reports that are coming back to us from this board and Mr. Fennell, as well as speaking with the union about what the current language is around the contract and that 120-day limitation, and working to hopefully find better language that can help us prevent a situation where a report would come back to us and there would be agreement in making a change and not being able to. And so that's something we're actively working with the union around. I'm not sitting here saying today that we will come to agreement with them around tax, but I can say this week, last week, those conversations have been happening. Finally, I'd like to mention, I mentioned to the chair that my hope would be to come back next month to the board and have a more fulsome conversation around the board's role in the implementation of the use of force review. I think that there's an important role to be played, particularly from this as an independent body. And so I'd like to have further conversation. I've had the opportunity to speak with some of you individually about it, but would like to have a conversation really with the board as a collective. So that's what I had to share, but certainly if there are any questions or anything like that, happy to have more discussion.
We might have any questions for our mayor at this time? No. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One final point I forgot to mention. Mr. Green mentioned NOBLE, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement. I know Deputy Chief Miller mentioned that both he and Chief Harding are routinely following some of the work coming out of NOBLE and in communication with them. So to Mr. Green's point, I think while, I believe in the strength of our use of force review that we are undertaking, and I believe in the importance of focusing in on use of force as a specific issue, I do think it's worth recognizing that there are many resources that are available to us. And so certainly, looking at reports and recommendations that are coming from NOBLE is important. That's, one of the things that, and not to get too long-winded, but that I would like to discuss more going forward is how we work to look, and uplift solutions that we're seeing across the country, right? Because that's one of the things that we're very lucky is that, there are hundreds or thousands of municipal governments across the country. We're able to take ideas and perspectives from lots of different communities and from associations and groups. So, I appreciate Mr. Green uplifting that, and I specifically am going to follow up to see if Mr. Green can speak with PERF directly, because I know, I've been the recipient of a lot of his recommendations and feedback over time. I know this is something he's followed for a long time, so I respect and appreciate that. So anyways, thank you very much. I hope everyone has happy holidays.
I do have one.
Yes, Ms. Saniscavit, Mr. Mayor, Saniscavit.
I just wanted to congratulate you on being a brand-new father, and this first holiday season with her, this is going to be amazing, and you'll never forget it, so I hope you enjoy it, you and your wife enjoy it.
And one of the things that I just want to note is that, it's not lost on me that this group of folks who, spend a Wednesday evening once a month and the committee time here, not with their families, not with, their loved ones. And so I know, look, I want to be very clear. I know this work has not been easy. I know birthing a new organization and independent body that's unique has had more than its fair share of challenges, right? My hope has been and continues to be, and leaning further into in 2026, working to build upon the foundation that has been built upon these last 2 years, and really partnering with all of you. We're not always going to agree, not always going to see things eye to eye. And you know, strong disagreement is welcome and is appropriate, right? That's part of the reason for independence. At the same time, you know, I think there also is a lot of common ground. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now I'd like to go over to our governance committee and our governance chair, Ms. Castle.
Yes, I first just want to say thank you, everyone, for your kind words today. I really appreciate it. Tonight was very bittersweet coming here for the last time. I'm really excited to step into my new endeavor and take what I've learned from this opportunity into that. But I am, you know, going to be bummed to not be here every week, but I definitely will be around still. I did just want to take a second as we're talking about governance, as I've kind of reflected upon my time on the board. Governance was something that I joined because it was the thing that I felt the least versed to serve in, and it was the thing that made me the most scared and uncomfortable. So I said, hey, I need to join this committee so that I can learn and be a better informed board member. So anybody who is interested in serving on governance, I would definitely recommend it. I have learned a ton. Mr. Gippen was kind of the trailblazer, and we were very fortunate to have him leading that initiative at first, and Mr. Costa. I asked the two of them a million questions every week, and they were fabulous. And then our continued community members who have been a part of that journey, just learning from you guys as well, and just those great conversations. So I definitely just encourage anybody who's interested, even if you're not officially on the committee, just being a part of that, you can learn a ton, and I do feel it's been a fabulous experience. So we don't have any official report this evening, but I did want to share that. And then also just Mr. Fennell coming in and supporting that role with governance. His wealth of knowledge has been a huge help and really guided that work as well. So I just want to thank everybody, and I really appreciate everything that has gone into it over the last couple years.
Thank you, Ms. Castle, for your service. Now we're going to move on to Ms. Myers and community engagement.
Thank you. As I mentioned the last meeting that we had a officer-only cohort back in October. Since then, we've had a couple of meetings, planning discussions on kind of next steps and what we want to do, and to continue to have these, you know, deliberative dialogue and meaningful discussions with both community and law enforcement. So when we debriefed with everyone that participated, there were a few things to note that came out of the officer-only cohort. Everyone agreed that it was a very powerful discussion, and it was marked with very deep and personal sharing. However, there was a clear divide between officers and community members. Was pretty palpable and visible and emotionally present. From the community perspective, to sum it up, there's been an expression of collective pain and a strong desire for officers to really understand lived experiences. And they emphasize that issues are not just cut and dry, they're not clear cut. From officers' perspectives, they demonstrated really a lot of emotional tension and signs of some internal division within the law enforcement group themselves. So our core task moving forward is really to help both sides understand one another's perspectives and realities, and create space where both can articulate needs, fears, and also aspirations. So our challenges ahead are a few things. One, to kind of caucus both groups using a mediation kind of style model to help create that safe space and process both, again, community members and law enforcement. Building political will is going to be key in further engaging, which is really to secure commitment from the institutional leaders, such as the mayor's office, and also other grassroots organizations and community organizers, and just, you know, regular community members for cultural and organizational change. Engage those in power, so identify the decision makers who can really address what we call kind of the groundwater which is the root level of systemic factors and issues. Addressing cultural and systemic issues, exploring how attitudes and policies and practices shape the dynamic between police and community. So there were several themes that came up. Safety is one of them. Both sides believe that safety is paramount, both community and law enforcement, and can be looked at as a shared value and a potential bridge for change. Service officers really voiced a strong desire to serve the community. They're really, really committed to doing so. And fairness, both sides kind of universally feel that there's a desired expectation of fairness in treatment, policy application and interactions. Humanization, which is recognizing the full humanity of everybody, which can help reduce polarization on both sides and assumptions. Mutuality, emphasize really a shared responsibility that we all have. And then lastly, kind of the legal standards versus community expectations. So there's this kind of recurring conflict that exists between what's legally reasonable versus what is necessary and proportional. So, our challenge is it's interesting, but we're up for it. So we want to continue to use this circle process and these deliberative dialogues to really kind of unpack those things. And again, we want to continue to convene decision makers, influencers, union representatives, community leaders, and also law enforcement. The last thing I'll talk about is, as the mayor just mentioned, PERF, and they've kind of made their rounds and speaking with individuals in the community. Been getting a little bit of feedback from individuals in their conversations with PERF. One thing seems to be I guess expressed is PERF seems to be kind of emphasizing developing recommendations and not policy, not conducting a full policy review. So that is a concern if that is the case. So we really want, to make it clear. I know in these dialogue, these circles, we've been talking a lot about how policy will really dictate action. And it's crucially important. So, and a successful review and reform process is not really possible without meaningful policy change. So, just wanted to put that out there. And any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Yeah, I have a question. When is the Community Engagement Committee meetings?
So we don't have a standing kind of date. We typically meet after we have our cohorts to debrief and discuss next steps. So, and those dates are kind of artificially, we just kind of come up, okay, this is the best date to have them. So we've had them, we've had our cohorts on Saturdays, we've had them on a weeknight, and so they've kind of varied just based on availability. So we don't have a standing routine date, but we definitely meet at least once a month.
Okay.
And we will continue to, I know Mr. Krabs and Mr. Weems have expressed that they want to, be more involved. So I think we just have to work through some technical things because we meet virtually through Microsoft Teams. So we have to kind of work through a little bit of technical stuff, but we are happy to have them join and contribute as they do here as well.
Okay. Could we, by next meeting, just have a meeting date and time?
Absolutely.
So we can get as much as possible. I'm going to talk about committees here in a minute, but just want to make sure that we have a regular standing time so board members can begin to fit into a committee. And so, any other questions for Ms. Myers? Comments?
Yes, I had one. Thank you for that review. It's very, very good and very thorough. I like the idea of your having the community and the police dialogue, you know, with freely be, and feel free and comfortable to dialogue in these circles. And I was just wondering if there was an interest, or maybe you could inquire if there was an interest for the police officers to dialogue and engage with just each other.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing so far, because we're not at the point where we can combine both.
Okay.
So we've kind of been
Okay.
caucusing both separately until we feel like we've kind of gained enough ground where it's a safe space to bring those two worlds together. So yes, we've been meeting with officers by themselves independently and community members by themselves independently, having these dialogues.
And then the reason why I asked that is because I was talking to a retired police officer the other day, and he's real nice and very soft-spoken. I said, you know, it's really hard for me to believe that you were a police officer. You just don't seem to have the personality of a police officer. I said, you barely even speak above a whisper. You know, I said, so I can't even imagine you yelling at somebody saying, get on the ground and get on the ground or whatever. And he said, you know, Donzella, he said, I got into police work to help people. He said, I know it sounds cliche-ish. He said, but that's why I got into police work. I just really wanted to help people. He said, and I came across a lot of police officers who thought their job was just to beat people down and arrest people. That's all they wanted to do, was beat people up and arrest people. So consequently, it's not an accident that he ended up on internal affairs, which sounded like that was the right place for him to be. So I was just wondering, so here you have a cop who truly just wants to help people, and then he runs into other cops who want to beat people down and arrest people. They thought that's all. So I wonder if they collaborate together and see, well, why do you want to just help people, and why do you want to just beat people down and arrest people, and how can we come to a happy medium? I think that would be something interesting just for the police officers to engage in within themselves. So it's just an idea.
Well, I'll say this, having been in these conversations, these dialogues, I would say that that's a resounding theme amongst law enforcement, is that they really do, they're passionate about what they do and really do want to protect and serve. So I can say that much. You know, I think their, you know, tactics, strategies, approach, lived experiences may differ, but I think, you know, at its core, you know, most, if not all, have a heart for wanting to do the right thing. Yeah. But you know, choices are made, you know, that may be unfortunate at times, but I would say that that's been expressed in these conversations for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not lost on how the population has changed too. Since he was, a young police officer, things have gotten a lot more volatile overall, even within the community, so I get that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Anaskevich. Deputy Chief Miller.
Mr. Board Chair and the board members, thank you for this opportunity. I just want to share in the spirit of your question and echoing Ms. Meyer's summary, we were and we will continue to be very intentional about our collaboration with this board, ongoing. That's an ongoing commitment that we share, but also be intentional about how we bring the officers together. And so we are very deliberate in how we assemble that team. It's officers from all walks throughout the agency, different assignments, different roles, patrol, detective bureau. You got different ranges of tenure. And so I think that nucleus will give you a different collective, almost like a collage of personality types and years of experience. We think that collective is really what adds to the robust nature of some of these discussions. So moving forward, I just want you to know we'll be intentionally committed to still do that. I think the gentleman that you referenced, I would say that's a good summation of his personality type. He's a mentor of mine and so forth. So we try to also impart that as we build relationships internally to share perspectives, and officers, have different maturation periods as they evolve in their comfort level and their training and their confidence level and their perspectives, right? But Ms. Keisha Myers has been doing a great job. We appreciate the opportunity to partner, but these deliberative dialogue processes have really been game changers. I think the officers, in some of their critique, much like the community, they come back to say, like, man, like, I'm glad I was there. You know, the officers, some of the types, if there were a type, you said, well, hey, he wouldn't be good or she wouldn't be good in a space. Some of them have come away saying, man, you know, so we know it's working. The spirit of that is circulating, and we're just going to continue to do that and drive that change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Now we'll go over to Mr. Costa in Finance.
Good evening, everyone. I want to do two things. First, I want to provide a budget update and address some questions and some concerns that were raised at our last budget meeting, our last board meeting. And then second, I want to talk about the process for the fiscal year 2026 budget. So everyone should have received an updated copy of our year-to-date budget. I believe you got physical copies in front of you as well, too. As it stands, there is a balance of $156,389 that's remaining for the fiscal year 2025 budget. As always, the bulk of that amount lies under our labor category for paying out our employees. There were a couple of questions that came up at the last meeting and discrepancies with respect to amounts either being deficit and or just like where are these costs coming from. So first I want to draw your attention to line item 62220, workers' compensation. Thank you, Chairman Boyd, as well as Auditor Fennell for your time. We had a pretty productive meeting yesterday, a meeting with the finance director just to get some clarity with respect to some of these items. The board is actually paying out some amounts of workers' compensation to some of our former employees. And so that is where that draw is coming from. More so, we only have like one former employee. And so, you know, I don't want to speak on any personnel matter beyond that, but I just wanted to at least give the indication in terms of where the amount's coming from. Moving along to line item 80060, other professional services. So there was a deficit that's still being shown there. This is due to the fact that there was a service contract for our data analyst. We encumbered funds in the amount of $21,500 on October 27. The finance department, the city's finance department, inadvertently encumbered this amount, thinking that we would draw it down and having additional charges for those services this year. Which is actually, Auditor Fennell clarified that is not actually in fact the case. And so we won't actually be billed for services again until 2026. And so that amount should be credited back to this budget and adjusted, but we will encumber that amount for those services in 2026. And so, bringing back up a conversation that we had about officer-involved shooting team special services, I'd ask that any information that you have, Ms. Castle, with respect to quotes that we may have received about those services, that you send it over. I don't know if it's possible for us to attempt to encumber those funds over our existing budget for the year and plan on undertaking those services. Or even if we've got enough time to fully vet out the scope of what those services would entail before the end of the year. But, you know, would want to make an effort to, you know, move forward with that opportunity. And if not, then plan for that with our 2026 budget.
Mr. Costa. Mr. Costa, if I may, real quick before you move on.
Yeah.
With respect to that project, we're going to have to push through 2026 because of the process it would take and the type, we only have a couple weeks left in this year. There's no way we could accomplish that.
Understood. Understood. And Ms. Anaskevich, this was a officer-involved shooting team special service that the governance committee wanted to. No worries, no worries. Thank you for asking. And if I need to speak more clear, please do let me know. Moving on, I want to talk about the process for the 2026 budget. Again, the charter does require that the board and the Office of Independent Police Auditor propose a budget on an annual basis and funding for the board and the office in an appropriate amount and sufficient to pay the personnel, services, and other expenses necessary for the effective operation of the board and the Office of Independent Police Officer. So emphasis on the effective operation of the board and the police, the Office of Independent Police Auditor. As of now, the plan is myself, Chairman Boyd, and Auditor Fennell, as well as Deputy Independent Auditor Myers, will be meeting with Steve Fricker, the city's finance director, on December 23rd to do a line-by-line review of our budget for the 2025 year, and then anticipating and looking forward to what we anticipate we would like to ask for the 2026 fiscal year. If any other board members would like to be present or like to participate in that Zoom meeting, please do let me know so we can invite you to participate if desired. And in that vein, I would ask that if board members have, special projects, comments, questions, concerns with respect to activities that you believe that the board should be undertaking or next year, please do let me know. Ms. Anaskevich, I know that you've been very adamant in terms of what you believe is necessary and appropriate in order to compensate board members for their time and their attention that they give in their service. I think that you have a unique perspective given the time that you've spent at the NACOL conferences and learning from other boards what their compensation structures look like. So, to the extent that you've got any thoughts, feedbacks, potential proposals that you would like to bring forward to the board for consideration, I think that now is a really good time to address that.
Yeah, I would like to know when that meeting is, and I would like to attend that meeting with you.
Right now, we've planned for the December 23rd at 4 p.m.
Where would that be?
That'd be via Zoom.
Oh, it's via Zoom?
Yes, Google Meet, I believe.
And Mr. Costa, speak. I just want to remind board members that because of the open meeting laws, we can't have a
More than a
quorum.
quorum. Yeah, that's why I paused. Thank you, Auditor Fennell. That's why I paused, because I was starting to do the math, and I was like, okay, we might be getting into an open meetings violation. So,
I can send you an email or something.
could you please, or if you want to drop a time for us to touch bases, because I do want to make sure that your concerns are adequately addressed. Moving forward, the goal ultimately is to bring a budget to this board for our January 21st meeting for us to vote on and hopefully pass a budget for the 2026 year. And so, again, to the extent that there are any projects, thoughts or concerns that you have about what's needed for, again, the effective operation of the board and OIPA, please do share them along so we can take them into consideration and present a budget that we believe is needed to support the board and the Office of Independent Police Auditor. And happy to answer or address any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, prayers.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. We have any questions? Mr. Costa, Finance. I'm really excited. I think that Mr. Costa and Mr. Fennell did a great job, and also Mr. Stricker from Fricker, I'm sorry, from our city finance. You know, we just had I really felt like a fruitful and productive conversation yesterday, and looking forward to really getting the things that this board needs and also the department needs in order for us to be effective in what we're doing, so that we're continuing to thrive and to flourish, not only as a board, but also in partnership with Mr. Fennell and his department. Before we go into, I know we're going to be going into executive session to talk about some staff-related issues. I do want to just talk to, I know it's been brought up, it was brought up originally during public comment, and it was something on my agenda to address, is just, you know, we may have to look at or relook at our committee structures and times. If those times don't fit our board members, and we have to adjust those times so that we do have board members populated at those committee meetings. So I know, Mr. Fennell, your review committee is on the second Wednesdays at 4:30.
Yes.
And I think originally, if we go all the way back, I know, I believe, Mr. Peoples, you was a part of that committee?
Yeah.
And so if those times are not good, Mr. Fennell, with Mr. Peoples, can we strategize and organize a new time?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
We can, I think we came to our current structure just to minimize the amount of days people had to, the community rather, had to come out. So we made it, we decided on the second Wednesday of each month, the Wednesday before the board meeting, so that the community would not have to, they were interested, would not have to come to 3 or 4 different committee meetings. So we can adjust the time. I would like for us to at least keep in mind that if we can follow the same or similar format of what we're doing now, where we have one day and we can time when each committee should meet during, say, that 2 or 3 hour block, then people can schedule accordingly to when they show up for the meeting. But at least we have one day. But definitely we want to make it convenient for both our board members and our community members that wish to participate, because this is, again, we've said it numerous times, in the committees are where the work gets done. And this allows the community really the only opportunity to provide real-time feedback, as opposed to the board meetings where, you know, the feedback is delayed or just public comment.
Okay. No, it's really good. So let's have that conversation, board members. So if essentially our committee meeting days are the second Wednesday from, I believe it's, a start time of 4:30, and it runs until what, about 7?
That's the time we've allotted. And again, we've allotted that time, but
Yep.
yeah, whatever we need, we can adjust.
So let's just start with, because I think ideally we want at least 2 board members per committee. And so our blocking and tackling committees, as I want to call them, is governance, it's review, and it's community engagement. Our ad hoc committees are pretty much finance and HR, right? We're only going to talk about finance when we got to do the budget, and pretty much HR when we need to do a review of Mr. Fennell or we're hiring someone. Okay, so there's 3 committees that we need to have at least 2 board members on. So the first question becomes, is the second Wednesday from 4:30 to about 7, does that work for everybody in here?
The second Wednesday works good. I just usually get there at about 5:30 or 5 o'clock right after I get off.
Okay, so that sounds like you're a candidate for governance, because I think governance meets at,
So I was at all of the governance meetings.
there it is.
I am not gonna lie, Bob.
It's okay, it's all right.
Bob,
I don't need anybody to be Mr. Gippin. I just need you to be the best version of yourself. That's all we need, all right?
No.
So we got at least 1 person for governance. What, does that work well for you, Mr. Peoples? Because I know that review is at 4:30 on the second Wednesdays. Does that time work well for you?
4:30 is fine.
All right. Mr. Peoples good, he's good for review committee. All right, so I need 1 more for governance.
I thought I was on HR.
Well, HR is ad hoc, so HR doesn't count, because
okay.
HR don't meet all the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I got a question, Mr. Chair.
yes.
Now, is that permanent 4:30 to 7:30?
For review?
Yeah, every second Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about governance just now.
No, we're talking about review and governance, because those are on the same day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we need to fill up governance, because right now I have Miss Hawkins, and for review, all I have is Mr. Peoples, but I think Miss Elton would be great for review committee as well. All right, so I'm just gonna put her down. I'm gonna volunteer her for that one, all right? I need one more for governance. Any takers?
Mr. Chair, I wouldn't mind doing it, but my schedule, as far as me running my business, that 4:30 is gonna be.
All right.
It's gonna be a challenge.
Ms. Anaskevich,
Yes?
governance?
No. That's not where my skill set is.
Okay, so I got then, so I got community engagement, Mr. Krabs and Mr. Weems in community engagement, and you're gonna get me a time. So we still need one more for governance.
Why don't you do it?
me. I've been missing tons of governance meetings, but I work generally like 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. or like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we'll have to figure out a time that works. But
Okay.
I'm like 12, 15-hour days right now.
All right. So we're figuring out possibly another time for governance based on Mr. Costa. All right?
Question.
Yes.
Review, that's basically the cases, correct?
Yep.
That's where my skill set.
Already got 2 people. We can't have 3 because then we'll have a quorum. So I put Miss Elton in there, but if you want it, I'll put Miss Elton in governance.
I'm a former federal investigator.
You ain't got to sell me. Just tell me if you want me to do that. You want me to pay?
Reviewing
Okay,
cases?
I'm gonna put you in review. Miss Anaskevich, you have some seniority, so I'll let that go.
I appreciate it.
And no problem. If we just communicate. And I'm gonna put Miss Elton in governance, and maybe we won't have to shift, but Mr. Costa, if you know, anything you can lend from a oversight would be
That law
appreciative.
part, that's what I think. I need a lawyer.
You need a lawyer?
Yes, I need a lawyer.
Well, he'll be on standby. He'll be on call for you.
All right.
He'll be on call for you, all right? I appreciate everybody, and I will let Miss Elton know what she's a part of, and I'll send this out in the email so everybody knows what committee they are for, and so it sounds like we can keep our time on the second Wednesday, so our community can continue to keep coming, and we'll be a part and be there. So thank you so much for bringing that up to us, community. We appreciate it.
So it is going to be 4:30 to what?
4:30 to 7, but review starts at 4:30, and it's usually over.
It's usually over. If everyone's there, we get started. We can do it within 45 minutes to an hour, and it just really depends on the number of cases. So we don't have a lot of cases to review. It's not going to take very long, and if we do, then we have to manage the time. So we've allowed it about an hour for each committee, those 3 committees, and then we have some buffer for traffic. That's why it goes from 4:30 to 7:30. But we're usually finished everything by 7. Just depends on what we have to discuss for that meeting.
Are you ever finished by 5:30?
We say
I'm finished with the review by 5:30 because we then move into governance.
now you can go after that. You don't have to stay for governance.
Pickleball at 5:30. I mean, leave.
No. You could leave and make sure that you maintain your pickleball points. And
When you leave, you got to show up. I mean,
I understand it. I understand it. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for your service and moving forward. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to talk about staff and personnel. Yes. You forgot about me. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Ingram, my apologies. thought the mayor took your comments. My apologies.
Not always. He does often, but not always. Just quickly, just want to reinforce a couple things that the mayor had said and also what was brought up here today. Mayor has been very committed around this deliberative dialogue process. We have also had one of those sessions primarily with the faith community. Mayor has some ongoing conversations to see how we can continue to move that forward, but also help support what Ms. Myers is doing in that community endeavor and how we can combine some of those things. So more to come there. Also, Mayor has tasked me with leading the use of force review process. As he has indicated, if anyone within the body is interested, just work through Chair Boyd. I will help to schedule any of those times with the folks from Perth. They really do want to hear from the community, and they really want to hear from this board. So we're happy to make sure that we're doing that.